It's your active and attractive host, Teflon Don, on Paid to Cost Podcast. We're talking about this 911 call that got your boy LUCCI. This murder case that turned to a RICO case.
Free my nigga step, free my nigga shell, long live nut forever, nigga. He just a young fly nigga. We just a young fly nigga. We just a young motherfucking fly nigga. Take the bitch on the flight, nigga. Take her wherever she liking herself. Fuck, something ain't right, nigga. If ain't roll, fit me right. Let's throw a party. We ain't gonna fight, nigga. Talking all that. I ain't got Glock 40, no time to fight with you. All of my real right niggas. My neck goes on white the other. Everybody who don't like each other. Another 50,000 on the belt. Popping shit like a fucking kettle. Popping shit, we don't know no better. Popping shit like champagne. No, we took the game to another level. They dreaming my sky dweller. Is it the line level? Like never highs of them. I'm one of the highest of them. I'm just being modest. I'm gonna be the top of they talk about forever. When they ask about me, just make sure you tell them. Young fly niggas there. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Hey, we just young fly niggas. I want. We just a young motherfucking fly nigga. Album, fly nigga about shadow. Fly nigga took a bitch, nigga case a little bit. Tell you about Rayshawn Bennett, aka LUCCI. Murder case that flipped over to a RICO case. How that happened? What's the main thing? Kept quiet. With my brother, you know that we're going in. They say never do dirt to one of your men. You gotta keep your circle tight and don't let no one in. And if they ever fucking there, we just young motherfucking fly niggas. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna first go get into this 911 call. Then we're gonna get into the details. And after that, we're gonna get into the sentencing and the plea deal. That's right. Shots fired. Let's get it.
We just young motherfucking fly niggas.
Think it's a game. So let's get into this Rayshawn Bennett case. LUCCI. First off, I want you to we're gonna get into this 911 call, and we're gonna talk about that. You know, what started this whole situation. Here's the 911 call that that alleged that happened.
Oh, somebody is laying out. Somebody, I don't know if he barely. Somebody just threw him out of the car. He connected to the ambulance. He's still trying to fight for his life.
EMS, what's the address of the emergency?
Baby, can y'all please get an ambulance here? This man is dying.
you see you got eyewitnesses.
Man, my sister said he was shot in the head. Yes, he was shot in the head. They threw him out the car. He just died. He just took his last breath.
We have the ambulance already on the way, okay?
Okay.
Let me go and get fire and get in right away.
Tell me what kind of vehicle he was stolen from, please.
What kind of vehicle he was stolen from?
Truck or SUV? SUV. What direction is the SUV? Yes, you know, I was just hanging out the car. Listen, just stay on the phone.
See, now that's why they identified his Maybach, the white SUV. Other than that, you're gonna see, right now we're about to take a listen to how things unfolded and how Mr. Rayshawn Bennett, aka Lucci, how he got himself caught up into the situation. Then we're gonna get down to then we're gonna hear communication about the sentence. We're gonna hear communication about the plea deal that he took. So sit back, listen to it for a minute.
Some of his most popular songs that you might know are Key to the Streets and Every Day We Lit. And he was facing the possibility of life in prison for his alleged role in a drive-by shooting from 2020. The prosecutors say that Bennett and 3 other men drove to an area of Atlanta that was controlled by a rival gang. As Bennett drove, 2 people in the car allegedly started shooting, and people outside of the car shot back. And in the aftermath of all of this, 28-year-old James Adams, a passenger in the car with Mr. Bennett, was shot and killed. Now, according to investigators, Adams' body was actually left in the street.
Are you sick of how
Large 105-count, 70-page gang and racketeering indictment? The Fulton County District Attorney's Office says that the YFN Collective is a gang associated with the Bloods. Now, Bennett said in an interview several years ago that YFN stands for Young Fly N-Word. Investigators say that YFN and YSL, Young Slime Life, are rival gangs in Atlanta. As I mentioned, we've been following the YSL RICO case here on Sidebar. That's where Young Thug, whose real name is Jeffrey Lamar Williams, is believed to be the leader of this YSL gang. He and multiple alleged co-conspirators are on trial in the same Fulton County courthouse on a different floor. Very busy building. Now, that trial has been underway for months, and it's expected to last for at least a year.
One thing that you can't forget is, he faced 13 charges, but he was only required to plead to 1, and that was being I want to say I believe it's being associated or affiliated with gang activity, and the gang and violating the Gang Terrorism Act, Gang Terrorism and Prevention Act, I believe. He faced a 20-year sentence, but he was required to do 10, with 10 of them suspended by the judge. The judge suspended 10 years, so he was only required to do 10 years. But I believe in Fulton County in Atlanta, where you can do a quarter of your time and you can be eligible for parole. So he already done 3.5 years, in the county, so he's eligible for parole. So I say he should be out within probably May 15th. By May 15th, he should be out. So we're going to hear a little bit more about his plea deal and what took place after that.
And while he faced multiple charges, Bennett was only required to plead guilty to a single gang charge, the count of violating the Street Gang Terrorism and Prevention Act. But this plea has many requirements attached to it.
do you understand that this is a negotiated plea, which means the state will recommend the sentence of under count 69. The recommended sentence is 20, serve 10, balance probated, and the special conditions of probation are no street gang activity, no contact with any known street gang members or associates,
Right.
no contact with the co-defendants, Reginald Carter, Artez Carter, Justin Ushery, DeMonte Thomas, Tydrekus Glass, Rayvon Boyd, Leroy Pitts, Frondavious Hawkins, and Derek Adams. no guns or replica guns, no gang affiliation or
Wow.
conduct associated with gangs on social
You
media.
really giving
You
it to
must
him.
be gainfully employed and no further violations of the
Gainfully
law.
employed, but what we're supposed to work for.
Do you understand that those are the conditions?
Yes.
Is it your decision to waive these rights and enter a guilty plea because you are in fact guilty?
Yes.
He looked at his lawyer.
How do you plead to count 69 in indictment 23 SC 188921?
Yes.
And before
So that means he took a plea bargain to being part of a gang in the street and violating the street code terrorism act. So you know, what I mean, being a driver itself will constitute you being just as damn near as guilty as the shooter. So, but in this situation, he took the plea bargain as far as that's where the negotiated plea came in at. They negotiated a plea to the point where he did the 10 years, and the judge will actually suspend that 10 years. You know, write it off, give him time served for that 10 years. He actually only do 10 years. But then by him doing 3.5 years already, so that makes him eligible for parole. Now. So that's why he should be out at least by I should say uh, May 15th, 2024. Now we're going to get into we're going to listen to at the time of sentencing. We're going to hear Mr. Rayshawn Bennett, better known as LUCCI, give his remarks to the court.
First off, I want to say my heart goes out to my friend James Adam and his family. Also, I want to apologize to my family and my friends for putting them through this stressful process. And I would also like to apologize to the court. And that's it.
First off, I'm going to say it was a good move by LUCCI because, in the court of law, if you don't show remorse, for the crime that's, quote unquote, allegedly, committed, they won't have remorse on how they're going to sentence you. So, that's a good move for him to even show remorse to the court, so you got to apologize and really, really mean it, so, that was a good move, by LUCCI. And what's crazy is, normally, when people usually come up for parole, and especially in a murder case or a violent case, you usually deny that parole that first couple times. They usually try to get that time up out of you. But it's been unusual for some reason. In Lucci's case, the state agreed to write a letter to the Board of Pardons and Parole to say they had no problem with Lucci actually getting out, on his first date of eligibility of parole. So that probably was the problem. The part of inside the plea where they'll write that letter. But like I said, that's something that never even happened. But I wonder, what took place. But actually, that's good plea bargaining. That's you gotta get that to his lawyer. That's good plea bargaining. For them to put that in there to to even get his testimony. Because he was the driver. But they labeled him as the shooter at first because of his name. They try to try to say that he committed the murder initially because his name. So right now, to clarify, I'm just going to let you get, I'm going to give you a snippet of, you know, of the hearing that that took place, to that gave the plea bargain life.
probation. But listen to this carefully. Judge Thomas Cox Jr. also noted that part of that plea is something that he had never even seen before.
As a condition of this sentence, the state has also agreed, and I believe this is the first time I've ever seen this. The state has agreed to write a letter to the Board of Pardons and Parole stating that the state will not object to you being released from the Department of Corrections the first time that you become eligible for parole,
It's pretty much
or
unheard of.
after serving 1/3 of your prison sentence, whichever comes first.
Hey man, you gotta You got to take your hat off to Drew Finley. You know what I mean, for putting that inside the plea bargain, terminal. You know, everything, in the court system is all about deals. It's all about making the best deals, especially for your client. There's no deal that's, that's unheard of. You just got to make it. You know what I mean? So you got to get that out. You got to get that up to Drew Finley. You know what I mean? Saluting. You know what I mean? Good move, my boy. Right now, we're gonna let Drew Finley walk us through how this deal happened.
Sure. So look, we've been in a battle since January of 2021. It started out as a felony murder case, and then, of course, as you know, it became this RICO case, this massive RICO case. And unfortunately, we had some bond issues, and Ray Bennett is, LUCCI, but Tussie's Ray. Ray's been in jail for a few years now, and we've been litigating this case nonstop. Of course, you remember, because you follow these cases, it started as this big case in Fulton County. Then there was the YSL indictment, then the special purpose grand jury regarding the election, and we just became another huge case. But during that entire period of time, we've been fighting, and then of course YSL went to trial before us, which was kind of crazy because we were an older case. We've been trying to get in trial. We finally got set for January 8th of this year, and you so accurately point out, Mr. Bennett was looking at the life without the possibility of parole. We continue to hammer away. We were in our third week of jury selection, and the only offer that is on the record, at least, that we got, as you know, took place. So I was in trial in San Francisco in a federal trial, and I received an offer while I was in trial for 17 years in jail, but to all the offenses. And of course, any offense related to the felony murder would have required an 85% service, which meant Ray would have had to, on that deal, serve around 15 years, maybe a couple months shy of 15 years. That was never going to happen. We wanted to go to trial, and then these conversations started developing in the last few days, and the next thing we know, every count is dismissed other than one associate of a gang count, which, according to our parole guidelines, because he has no criminal record, it's extremely clear, and it became clear on the record, and to the credit of the prosecution, they put it on the record as well, that he could be parole eligible in as soon as 1/3 of the time, which would only put him around 3.5 months away. And as part of the deal, they agreed to write a letter to the parole board that, assuming he behaves himself in the next 3.5 months, they have no objection to his immediate release.
Right.
Clearly,
it's been widely spoken that people think that since this plea bargain have came with Lucci, they think that for some reason that on the back side of that he's going to testify against Young Thug in the YSL case, but that's not so. That's not so. Because he was actually, like I said, he was actually charged with felony murder because in the commission of a felony, when someone dies and as a result of that, they would charge you with that that murder. So they actually did charge him with that, but the plea bargain that he took, and that was through to Drew Finley, his lawyer, his plea bargaining that he gave, so it's all about the deal that you make, and keep your mouth shut, so, sometimes you gotta salute Lucci about that, because, people really thought that he was going to testify against Young Thug, through that, because remember, Young Thug allegedly and his gang had supposedly shot at his mama house, not one time, but 2 times. First time they missed, second time they hit her in the leg and hit a friend, a best friend in the leg, I believe so. So, but they was thinking that he was going to testify against that, but, not so. But I'm going to let Drew Finley, tell you a little bit more about, what got the plea bargain up to it is and, and the resolution to it.
I talked about that at the plea yesterday. So the felony murder doctrine, as you know, if there's the allegation of any felony and somebody dies as a result thereof, you can get charged with felony murder. So it was the person, Mr. Adams, that was in our client's car,
Right.
that was shot and killed by a third party.
James
And
Adams.
so under the felony murder doctrine, they actually charged
that was the
Ray
one.
with his friend's death.
That was the guy that was filming it.
And
they threw
so
out the car.
we were very clear with that we spared no expense.
The 911 call,
we
that
hired
was
the
the guy.
best experts in the United States,
James
the
Adams.
best engineers to put together the videography and analyze it. And at best, they can say you couldn't see who initiated the showing, but the possibility was there that, in fact, they were the people in Mr. Bennett's car were reciprocal. In other words, they were defending themselves. We were very clear with the other side, strap it on, get ready, because we are spending big time money to bring
It's all
in
about money.
not silver medal winners, not bronze medal winners when it comes to
money.
expert testimony, but the best people possibly
when
on
you
the
go to
planet
war, you
Earth
better have
are
your
going to
money
testify
right.
for us. Who do you have? And sometimes, as a defense attorney, even though we don't have the burden, it's important to let the other side know, get ready. It's not going to be an easy road.
Get ready.
And whether they took that into consideration, I'll have no idea.
And we're going to spend it.
We decided to freely exchange that information, and perhaps it benefited us.
And to be clear,
I wonder if people actually know that they're saying guilty by association. I mean, that's a true saying. You know what I mean? Because actually, that's the plea bargain that he ended up having to take, associating with gang members. So actually, I'm going to go ahead and let Drew Finley, his lawyer, finish telling you, the ins and outs of, how he made the plea bargain, and then he's going to also touch on the situation where people think that Rayshawn Bennett, aka LUCCI, is going to testify against Young Thug in that RICO case, YSL.
Indictment talks about being an associate. Unfortunately, in these gang statutes, I talk about this around the country all the time to lawyers. You don't have to really be a gang member, but if you associate, right? If you associate with a gang, and so he pled guilty to a count that he associated with a gang and some specific activity, but he never agreed that he is a gang member because he's not. But the plea was associating with gang members.
Is he going to have to?
Big no. That is as big as you could take NO and put them together and get a huge highlighter. Okay. That's always been an issue.
Right.
That Ray Bennett, LUCCI, is never going to testify against anybody, for anybody, against anybody. He won't even testify for at a traffic violation. That is not part of this at all. And if anybody tries to issue a subpoena, we'll file a motion to quash. Because people can put him up, but other than saying his name, he's going to fold his arms and want nothing to do with any legal proceeding. So that's very, very clear that he's not a witness at all. Anybody that tries to create that rumor is really doing an injustice to themselves and everybody involved in this. It's not part of this deal at all.
So what is?
So if we can ask Drew Finley, what's the possibility of Ray Bennett, LUCCI, being released in 3.5 months? His plea will be.
So look, we did our due diligence, and he is absolutely going to be eligible. A critical factor is that the district attorney's office is writing that letter, and that's key. I think you may have heard that Judge Cox said on the record he'd never seen that in his career, and he's been on the bench for quite some time. And they actually reviewed that on the record, that assuming over the next 3.5 months he doesn't get any trouble while he's incarcerated, they will take the position that he should be released at the first available date. And they actually put on there they actually set on the record the 1/3 of the service time, which would be 40 months. And so he's at around 36.5 right now. And so that's really important. And then, of course, the other thing is that Mr. Adams' family, the gentleman that died, has always stood behind our client, going back to the beginning of the case. And so that really covers all concerns. You never know, but I wouldn't know any reason why they wouldn't. because the state was very clear on the record that he did not hold a gun, he did not possess a gun at the time of this. They put on the record, to their credit, all the right things so that he could get released in 3.5 months.
Were you surprised?
This case, all comes down to negotiation. When you be quiet, you don't run your mouth, you don't talk, you don't snitch. You know what I mean? Your negotiation can get you up out of anything. Because clearly, we already know what role people played and how we played. Because we who we is. But it's not what you know, it's what you can prove. As long as you can be quiet, they can't prove nothing unless you give it to them. So I'm gonna say this to say, Rayshawn Bennett, LUCCI, I give you a salute. But rest in peace for those people who passed away. And I pray for everybody and their family. But you gotta give a stand up man his flowers while he's able to smell them. So that's that's Teflon Don. So here we go. We're gonna sign on off. Paid to Cost Podcast.
I think it was part of the negotiation process, and I think there was certain condition precedent that we had in order for us to shut down this case, and that was at the top of the priority list.
So there you go. We got Drew Finley take on that. So Paid to Cost Podcast with George Truly, Teflon Don. With the case LUCCI, he should be free. I say around May 15th, he should be home. Let's get it. LUCCI, Teflon Don, Paid to Cost Podcast. Let's get it. Push that like button. Subscribe to me. Got the latest thing coming up to you next week.
Right now I'm high as ever. One of the hottest ever. I'm just being modest, so I'm gonna be the top of they talk about forever. When they ask about me, just make sure you tell them I'm fly.
Let's get it. Paid to Cost Podcast. LUCCI. Free that boy. He should be home May 15th around that time, you know what I'm saying? You gotta give him his flowers. That's right. They say never do dirt to none of your men. Keep the circle tight and don't let no one in. And if they ever have me catching this and young motherfucking fly niggas. That's right. We just fly. We just Paid to Cost Podcast. Let's get it. Okay. You've been looking at the episode of LUCCI, a Paid to Cost Podcast with yours truly, the active and attractive host, Teflon Don. Push that like button and subscribe to me for more content.